chaps and chappettes, do apologise for the lack of a video last week. However, there was a bit of an event. You may have seen from my Instagram, if you follow me, if you don't, I'm not speaking to you, that I was somewhat kidnapped and spirited away to Prague for a week. You see, Tarkus, dear old sport that he is, has a certain way with people, and that way is turning up to their house at 3 in the morning and saying, "Come on, old sport, off we jolly well go," which, well, I admit when I used to have money it was endearing, and I thought him rather a lively fellow. Now that I have a job and no money, I find it rather annoying and inconsiderate. Dear old Tarkus spirited me away to Prague. The reason he went to Prague was apparently that he had me in mind, because everything in the Czech Republic is so cheap, he says. It's all so cheap. The thing is that yes, 1 or 2 things would be cheap, but when you're in a country where everything is cheap, you end up spending more money than you would normally. So I'm now poorer than I was before, which I didn't think was possible. And the reason for no video was because the plane got back the Saturday, that is the Saturday last week, the day before the video, and then I fell asleep, and I have only just woken up. So as you can probably tell from the gym jams, I have only just woken up, so I do apologise, but there we go. It's a bit odd, I have to admit, because my memories of the entire trip are a little fuzzy. For instance, I now have this. It's a rather lovely teacup of water. It has a crown on it. It also has the words on the back. So, I cannot remember where I got this from. Nor do I remember bringing it home with me. Nor do I remember ever particularly saying the phrase, "all tea, no shade." Drunk Roddy makes some rather odd decisions. It's been noted in the past. One thing I do remember, which I particularly want to talk to you about, is this cafe we went to. And I say cafe because I don't know if you've ever been to the Czech Republic, but they don't really do lunch as a meal. Or they do, but then if you do lunch, you don't do dinner. It's very odd. Essentially, their idea of food is something that you eat, and that you are then full for the next 24 hours. In that way, they're quite frugal, you know. Have 1 meal of cement for your entire day. So you tend to have a very large, filling meal once a day, and then whichever one that is, that's lunch or dinner, you don't have much the other meal. So a lot of the cafes are restaurants, and a lot of their restaurants are cafes, and all of them are bars, because there's hardly any alcohol laws in Prague, which is why I can't remember most of the week. This particular cafe, it was interesting. It had apparently come very highly reviewed. I can only presume that the people who were highly reviewed were high when they were reviewing it. Certainly the waiter was high when he was serving us. I mean, I personally thought he was high. I mean, he could very well have been any other form of intoxicated. He was an interesting chap. He came out to our table, which was outside, in the cold, because there were no more inside, but we couldn't be asked to walk down the street, so we figured we'd just tough it out. He came to our table, outside in the cold, took the 5 orders from the 5 people, and then stood there staring at us, as if waiting for someone to voice another opinion. And we chalk this up to language barriers and so on. I mean, after all, none of us learned a damn word of Czech, which, now I think about it, is possibly not the way one holiday makes, but it's the way I've always made holiday before, and I've never had a problem. I find money usually speaks louder than any language, but I suppose since I don't have any of that, I should probably get better at the language. No, so we thought this may be a language issue, and we carried on regardless, we said, no, that's it. And off he went. He then brought back bread for the table, which we hadn't asked for. And then he brought back more bread for the table, which we hadn't asked for. And then he bought cutlery. And then he bought more cutlery that we didn't need. And then he bought more bread, looked at the 2 breads that we already had, and sort of went, oh, and wandered off again. And then, now I wasn't timing this, mind, but we were cold, so I'll do it in degree of coldness. So by the time that we were no longer just a bit chilly, and were now actually freezing, they brought out 4 of the 5 dishes. We presumed the 5th one was just on its way, fine, so we all tucked in. It was salty, I'm not going to lie. I didn't want to appear ungrateful to Tarkers, you know, for organising the whole thing, so I did try to hide my reaction somewhat, and I mean, I think, you know, they put down this plate of goulash a la Dead Sea in front of me, and I just sort of went, no, it's fine, I'll eat around the salt that has been used as the main ingredient for this goulash. I'll eat around, it's fine. And so we carried on with our oversalted, under everything else food. And Tarka's dish didn't show up. And we thought, oh, that's a bit strange. And then eventually, after most of us were almost completely finished, out comes Tarka's dish. It was a mixed grill, which was interesting, because I had not seen the phrase mixed grill on the menu. So where they got it from, how they thought he ordered it, is the questions that to this day I do not have the answer for. So Tarka's, being the chap that he is, he just sort of said, no, hold on. That's not what I want. I wanted this thing. I can't remember what it was. It was some sort of, I mean, it was the Czech Republic, so it was probably goulash or stew or a dumpling or some combination of those 3 words. The waiter said, are you sure? And we said, yes. And I'd like to remind everyone that this waiter was a bit odd. I mean, he was staring. He was taking a very long time to process everything. He was almost certainly intoxicated to some degree. But I mean, who among us hasn't turned up to work and hoped no one would notice that they were shit-faced? I mean, let's be honest, we've all done it. We've all gone out on the lash and misjudged the amount that we could handle. We've all had these sorts of stories, so we weren't really prepared to judge the fellow. It's just, you know, be a little bit more alert when you're trying to cover up the fact that you are completely rat-arsed. So the fellow takes his dish back. And then 5 minutes later, out comes a different waiter with the same plate, saying, here is your food. And Tarka says, no, we've already done this bit. He brought it out. I said it wasn't what I wanted. He said, are you sure? I said, I'm fairly certain I can remember which 2 words I used to order food. And I sent it back. And the other waiter put his head in his hands. I think I heard crying. And then he said, I apologise. My colleague is very drunk, and carried the grill away. Now, through some studying of the waiting staff, it appeared to me that the second fellow was actually the superior, the sort of head waiter or whatever it is in establishments that don't have head waiters. If you know that your subordinate is drunk, surely you should stop him from interacting with other customers. They took the mixed grill away and they said they would take it to get his food out as soon as possible. So the rest of us had not only finished, but finished our drinks and decided against dessert when Tarquin's actual order finally arrived. It was salty, it didn't have the side dish he ordered, it was cold. Fairly certain at least one waiter had had a parsnip before it left the door. So yes, we sort of waited for Tarkus to finish up, which didn't take long, admittedly, since one of his benefits as a friend and companion is that he has no sense of taste at all. And I don't just mean that figuratively, I mean that literally. When he eats, he just opens his gullet and chugs the entire thing down. Which is why he's such a fantastic drinker. But it does mean that he doesn't appreciate his food so much, so it didn't take too long, is the point I'm getting at. It does make me think that Tarkus would probably be slightly better at dealing with the supply of food that I've been getting from Lidl's. I think not having taste would certainly improve certain elements of my life right now. So Tarkus finished his food, and back comes Inebrioid. And he says, "Oh, we finished. Would you like any desserts or aperitifs?" And I'm going to stop you right there, because any fool who has had anything more than a 2-course meal in his life knows that an aperitif is what you have before the meal, not after. And again, you could chalk this up to language, or you could chalk this up to the far more rational decision that he was completely stoned. I mean, for God's sake, if you can't remember that an aperitif is what comes before the meal, then why exactly are you a waiter? I'm not going to say that waitstaff have an easy job, because they don't. However, one of their main job skills, one of the biggest parts, in fact, of their job, is remembering things. By the way, by this point I was starting to lose sensation in my fingers. Admittedly, by this point I was fairly drunk. Not from anything I'd bought from the cafe, of course, I didn't want to give them my custom, but from the stuff that we smuggled in, which is what another reason we sat outside, was so we could drink from our own drinks under the table. It's neither here nor there. It takes them a while to bring out the bill. I'm not in the best mood. You know, I've had what could generously be described as food some hour ago. I've not had a proper drink. I've not had an inside table, which I feel I ought to commend myself, because no matter what financial hardship I've been through, I've managed to guarantee that I eat inside almost every evening. So really, this was a bit of a slap in the face, to be honest. I ate outside out of choice. I mean, semi out of choice. Mostly out of laziness, but we'll call it choice. So I said, no, Tarkus, don't pay him. Don't pay him for the stuff we haven't had, for God's sake. So he goes in and he tries to talk down the waiters. Drunky is still out and about at this point, I might add. And he actually tries to stop Tarquin from leaving before he's paid, which Tarquin never leaves before he pays. In fact, if anything, paying is his favourite part of the meal. He loves it. He loves throwing around money. He loves going, oh look, here is my money. Here, take it. He's not going to leave without paying. You don't need to block the doorway to stop him. So eventually they come to an agreement and they put the price down to something that's a bit more reasonable, and off we go on our trolley way. That is the only thing I remember. A lot of cheap beer. Cats. Many cats. Not sure whose cats, not sure from where, but there were a lot of them. And Tarkus decided to streak down the Charles Bridge, which was lovely. I certainly enjoyed seeing all of those Japanese tourists get an eyeful of Tarquin. I mean, I had fun, I presume. I mean, I ended up with a teacup and saucer, so I imagine that was a hilarious anecdote. You know, I'm gonna call Tarquin and see if he remembers anything about the cup and saucer, because that's bothering me now. However, there is some news. I do also have a Facebook page now. You can like me on Facebook, you can follow me on Instagram, on Tumblr, and of course you can subscribe to the YouTube channel right here, because I would very much love to see your faces here every week. I would love to see all of you here all the time. I mean, Lord knows, I need new friends. So if you would like to be my new friends, then please do. One of my poor friends is actually organising a bit of a sojourn with me. Later on, it'll be next month actually. I'm thinking of heading down to Brighton. I hear there's some good folk in Brighton, so we're going to go down there and have a bit of a lark on the seaside, and I'll keep you posted as that updates. Until next week, my lovely new friends, who are wonderful and who would never leave me sat outside of a shit-faced waiter's cafe for 3 hours. Roddy loves you. Mwah.